Blog Talk Radio. Have you ever wondered why it's happening again?
Welcome to MindShifters Radio with your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife Jeanie. Michael and Jeanie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rachma. Michael is the author of So Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael and Jeanie Ryce.
To the brightness within you and the truth that is rooted within me.
The Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce. And I'm driving down the road. We're headed from Orlando down to Fort Lauderdale. And so Carol's operating the switchboard for us. Today is, I think, day 187, I'm not absolutely sure, of Memorial Day celebration. Our call-in number is 646-200-4169. Hello, Michael.
Absolutely awesome day. Lots to be thankful for today with that skies, nice white puffy clouds. We have Carol Guy. Carol Guy was operating the switchboard. Yeah, I just know Michael. How about there? Can you hear me now? Okay, let's try it this way. We're having some technical difficulties, but let's see how that works. Can you hear me now? All right. Excuse us for the false start. We've got this awesome day. We're driving down the turnpike. Beautiful blue skies with some nice white puffy clouds. Thank you to Carol Guy for being willing to handle the switchboard for us today. Carol, we appreciate you a lot for facilitating this show and every time you tap into that switchboard. Thank you. Also, Mary Redonti, that awesome piece of music. Why is this happening again? Mary is a young lady who came to one of our workshops in Berkeley, California about 2 years ago. After a week of workshops, she came back the last night of the workshop and said, hey, can I sing for you guys? And it's sang that song that we use now as our intro and outro, and it's fabulous. Why is this happening to me again?
Hi, Carol. Can you hear me?
I can, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, it's a little hard to hear you if you can, because there's a lot of background noise there.
Yeah, we do have some background noise. Let's see if...
Hello?
Is that better now?
Okay. Now you cut out a little bit there. So, okay.
So we have a thank you to say to Mary Redonti for her music, and I don't know if you could hear me, Carol, when I was...
Yes,
Put forth, but thank you very much. And Memorial Day celebration is about our effort, our part to bring a world of peace and put an end to war on the planet. How are we going to do that? We're going to invite you, as we do every day, to look at some form of hostility or fear, just one little expression you might have of any form of hostility or fear, and be willing to forgive hostility or fear. Not let somebody else off the hook because that hostility might be happening in you, but to actually own it and to remove it. We were listening to your show, Carol, just before ours, and every Friday everybody might want to tap in at 12 o'clock Eastern Time and listen for an hour to Carol Guy's show. But she had a woman on that's done some books on soul reunion and soul reconnection, and very few people in the healing fields are talking as clearly about how if I'm feeling it, it's mine. And so many healers out there, well, I feel your pain. And I loved it when she got into that particular understanding. It's a rare one. So,
Absolutely. It was really great. She was a wonderful guest. Susan Taylor Shire is her name.
Yes, and so people can get the archive off of Blog Talk Radio and give a listen to that show, should they wish to. And that would be, it'll support you in the process of learning forgiveness. And her whole conversation was about being connected. So here we are, human beings, most living a non-human life, where human life doesn't show up. And the way we define human life in this work is hold a newborn child. When you hold a newborn child, you know exactly what human life is. It is awesome, active presence of love. When you experience that presence, you're experiencing a human life. And that's what your guest, what I hear her speaking about as living in a connected space. It's living as a human life, and that's what we're here to do. And you do that by letting go of hostility and fear. Reconnecting is a really key part of the process. However, we can reconnect as often as we want, but if we never remove the hostility and fear that blocks our connection, then the tendency is to just, lose it, whereas as you do your daily forgiveness work, you remove the things that disconnect you, and then you live a life connected, period, 24/7, 365, for eternity. That's what we're here to do. If you're not familiar with how the forgiveness process works, how to remove those things, then what we suggest that you do is go to the website, www.whyagain.com, and on the right-hand side there's a link that says Download Worksheets. And if you click into that Download Worksheet link, you'll see that there are five links to connect to the forgiveness process. And excuse me if I'm distracted. We're at a toll booth and looking at directions, so it's a little bit crazy here. Anyway, so the 5 links will tell you all about how to do the process of forgiveness, how to remove hostility and fear. And as we individually and collectively choose to face our hostilities and fears, own them, be responsible for them, rather than pretend they belong to someone else, then by removing those things, the interference to our connectedness is gone. And we just get to live a human life. And that's what we're here to support everybody on planet Earth to just truly, absolutely living as the active presence of love as we are designed to live. So that's our task here. And is Dr. Tim with us? Is David with us? Carol, are you with us? Hello, Carol.
Okay, Michael, can you hear me?
I've got you. Yes, ma'am. I was just wondering if
Yeah,
Dr.
I don't see Dr. Tim on yet.
Oh, okay.
And
is David
isn't his David? Let's see. Is this David? At 417?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay, and I think Dr. Tim, is that you? 847?
No. 815 is Dr. Tim.
Okay, no. Okay. So now I don't see him on.
Okay. Well, let me just say good morning to David, and how do you be, sir?
I'm doing very well, and glad to see here that you guys are on the road and things are going well. And, to me, one of the points that you just made is such a vital point, that to be in touch with and recognize that when stuff comes up is just part of the healing process. A lot of people recognize, I know myself, I recognize when I'm in a feeling of anything other than love, and my automatic programs want to kick in to avoid looking at that and to do any kind of behavior to resist exposing that. And it's quite a challenge to be able to hold the space of love, that level of consciousness. And so that's what I'm doing today. Things are going well, and looking forward to hearing from some folks to see how things are going for them for doing their 5 worksheets a day for the last 11 days now, 12th day of it.
Yes, I don't know if you got to download and print the new worksheet, but I've been doing mine for the last 2 days on them, and I'm finding it's really taking my process to a whole other level with my 5-a-days. So were you able to get that printed, David?
I did. I have looked at it, and I've done 5 worksheets today using that particular outline of it. And like with all things, my mind wants to hold on to the way that I've done it in the past and to resist looking at anything new. And so I've used that worksheet in order to challenge myself to see what it is that it comes up for me. So there's always that little piece of recognizing and learning something new from it. So it's good.
So am I hearing you say, David, that you're doing worksheets on doing the new worksheet? Is that the idea?
Yeah, and I'm using the new worksheet in order to do that. Again, my mind, as I understand that my mind figures things out so quickly and sets things in a certain way, and to make any kind of adjustment or shift or change, well, then there's a resistor to it. There's that resistance to it. And so my best way of dealing with that I've learned is to just stay with it until something gets exposed, until I get a new understanding of it. Just like learning a new language or, how to do the computer. I was reading my 15 minutes this morning and talking about learning and the process of learning. When I first went to turn on a computer, I remember the very first time, even to turn it on and to look at it, it's like it made no sense to me whatsoever, absolutely nothing. And as most people have said to me, well, you just have to play with it. You just have to take it on and look at it as a game and playing games. And, if most people may not know the history of that's how they started training people, was with the games, with doing the little game programs just to get them comfortable in playing in working with the computer. It's kind of why we call this building the brain cells game. It's just a game so that we can stay with it and look at it from the perspective of a learning opportunity. So that's what's going on with me.
A couple of things, David, for me, that the new worksheet, the 2 pieces in particular that are in there, aside from some of the changed wording, is to look at, once you've established what the goal is, that step I've found to be really useful that we put in that says, I'm looking at the times when I violated that goal. That one I've found to be really powerful for me. And then the step inside the second little box where you draw your feelings, where I look at it, it kind of takes us back to all the why is this happening to me again, and you start to see what I've found in it is I start to see how much that particular goal has run my life. So when I ask myself the question in that second little box of how many times, or a math canceling of the goal for all the times that I have held that goal for someone. So what I found was that I was doing a worksheet last night, and it was on a kind of a current event. But when I started to look at all the times, I ended up listing about a dozen different names that went right back to my early childhood, where I held that goal for somebody. And that's really, I'm finding, is a way to deepen the process. And so, folks, if you're not familiar with the worksheet process at all, or if you don't have the new one, Jeanie did put it on the website. It took a little longer for us to get it completed and out there than we realized it would. But if you go to whyagain.com, and on the right-hand side, about 6 links down, you'll see download worksheets. And pick up the latest worksheet. It's the second link under that download worksheets section. And you'll see that new step. There are 2 boxes, if you recall, for those who've done the sheet, where you draw your feelings. Well, the second box once you've gone through and done the core forgiveness process around whatever the current issue is, then you ask yourself the question, and then go into a mass canceling of all the times that you've held that goal. And it's like blasting out a dozen worksheets at once that cover your whole life. So I've found it to be really powerful, really useful.
Yeah, I think that when the next time that you do a Why I Can workshop and you present that, and that will come across, especially to the people that have never done one of the worksheets. The challenge always is that my mind has already figured out how this worksheet goes, as I said, and for it to then have to learn it a new way. And for people that have never ever used a worksheet, this is the new way. It's always been this particular way. And, this will be the first way that they've learned it. So I think it's going to be really helpful. I think it is a lot of points that cover a lot of issues. So, as you say in the workshop, let go of the need to understand what every line means, what every word means, and the intention around it, and just do the worksheet itself. And through that process, just staying with it, the consistency of it, well, then you'll develop an understanding of it.
And so, Carol, do we have any callers, anybody with any questions in the chat room?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you
Hello?
loud and clear.
Okay,
I've got you.
Great. We got lots of callers, but no questions, so they're just all listening, and Dr. Tim still isn't there, so we're listening. There is a question. You're talking about a new worksheet. What's the difference between that and the other one?
Say it again, the difference between...
The new worksheet that you're talking about and the old worksheet, what's the difference?
Well, there's the two things that I just spoke about. There are several significant changes in the new worksheet, and the two key ones that are there is once you've done the core forgiveness work, then you look at, and forgiveness in the Aramaic language, forgiveness is an interesting thing. It's got nothing to do with, I let you off the hook for what's happening inside of me. Actually, the word forgive is shabag, and it literally translates to cancel.
Mm-hmm.
So it literally translates to cancel. And when you look at the way the human mind works, when we hold a goal for someone, and that goal links to or resonates our hostility or fear, the canceling of that goal is what allows us to access directly the hostility or fear rather than feel it indirectly and pretend it's somebody else's fault. So as long as I'm in denial, I hold hostility and fear in me that I don't want to look at and I don't want to deal with, then someone comes along and I load a goal in my mind for them that resonates that hostility or fear. What happens is I literally make a picture of them out of that denied and dissociated part of my mind. The key as to how I do that is by holding a goal for them. Mm-hmm. So, and the problem's not them, the problem's the content of my own mind. So when I cancel the goal, what happens is I get a chance to look at that part of my mind. And in so doing, I can process through and remove the hostility and fear. So one of the key changes in this new worksheet is that once I've gone through and I've canceled the goal, then I'm going to look at, let's say that goal is I want, my friend to speak to me lovingly, gently, and respectfully. So I cancel the goal for my friend to speak to me lovingly, gently, and respectfully. Why? Because when I do, if I'm in some sort of pain over my friend speaking to me in what I consider to be a mean tone, then I have some pain I can work through by canceling that goal. As So long as I keep thinking that my friend is the cause of it, I can't change it. So once I've done that canceling step in the old worksheet, one of the key steps in the new worksheet is then I look at all the times in my life where that goal has run my relationships, and I do a mass canceling. So I might go back to 2 years ago in another relationship, and 5 years ago in another relationship, and 20 years ago when I was in school, and 25 years ago when my father raged at me, and I wanted a loving, gentle, respectful response. And so it just expands the usefulness of that. That's one of the key differences, the key steps in it. And the other one is that when I hold a goal for someone else, a new piece that's in the new worksheet is I then look at, once I've done the canceling, I look at when in my life I violated that goal. So while I'm standing here, perhaps like in an infantile demand that you speak to me lovingly, gently, and respectfully, and I raise my voice and I go into rage, I'm violating my own goal and projecting it onto you. So by looking at that aspect, it's just another piece of the process. By looking at that aspect, I get to go, oh, that's what's driving my behavior. I see. Now I can start to let go of that. So there are a couple of key differences, and if somebody wants to jump on the website and grab the worksheet and has any questions about it, it would be awesome to entertain those questions.
Wonderful. Well, I want to remind everybody calling in, and they can call in at 646-200-4169. Make sure you press 1 so I know that you are wanting to speak to Michael and David here.
Cool. So is there anything going on in the chat room? Anybody asking any questions or making any comments that would be...
They're talking. Yeah, they're talking amongst themselves right now about some other things. Well, someone did say within 90 days is my goal. So I'm not sure that they're talking about some other things. So not pertaining to what you're talking about right now.
Okay. Well, one of the things that we've invited several people to do, and today is day 13, I believe. Let's see, I think last night my last sheet was number 60, so it's day 13 or day 12? Okay. Well, I'm ahead then. So the invitation, and there are at least 20 people that we know of that took this invitation up, is to take the last 40 days of the year, which started 12 days ago, and do 5 worksheets a day, so that we blast into 2012 with a really cleaned up slate, having done the last 40 days of the year, cleaned out this year and moved in. So if anybody's doing that, we'd love to hear what your experience is. We'd love to hear from you. Call us, 646-200. 4169 is the call-in number, 646-200-4169. If you have anything to share about doing your 5 worksheets a day and how that's working with you, I think that we're going to see, and the feedback we've gotten so far is several people have been really feeling a boost in their energy and doing it with that many people doing that many worksheets every day. So a call would be awesome, and we appreciate David for having the brain cells to recognize that we were 40 days out and to create that invitation. It certainly has been great for me. It's been, having initiated this process 27, 28 years ago, it's been a while since I've done 5 worksheets a day just so consistently and done them in writing. And so it's been really awesome for me.
Michael, someone in the chat room just asked a question. They said, what is a good worksheet to start with? So I'm not sure, should they start with the old one, I guess they're asking, or should they go ahead and start with the new one? And we do have a caller as well.
Okay, well, the first thought I would have would be, if you go to the website, the second link is the newest worksheet. It's a 7-step one. It's fairly self-explanatory, and the third link is an actual radio show where we walked somebody through a worksheet. It's an absolutely awesome worksheet. So if you download that second link, that'll give you a copy of the worksheet. And then download the third link. It's an MP3 of a radio show. Now, there are some differences in the sheet, but the leap is intuitive. It's very easy to do into the new worksheet. So that's where I suggest you start. And then what I also suggest is that you start with small issues. You know, a lot of people hear, oh, I can change my life, awesome. I've had this problem with my mother-in-law for 45 years. I'm going to change it today. And nobody's going to start with a 45-year-old problem and change it today. But if, like any other skill, you start with just the small issues. Gee, you know, I was irritated when this happened. I was upset about, dropping that glass and breaking, what may seem to be silly stuff, minor little issues. And what happens is that empowers you to build the brain cells for how forgiveness works. And then when you start building that muscle, you can start to flex it and move into dealing with bigger and bigger and bigger issues until, we had one young lady who called in a couple of weeks ago and, in tears over her daughter's rage and how much pain that was causing her. And once she realized, as she heard and built the brain cells to get, my pain about my daughter's rage is my pain and I can forgive it. Wow, that's an awesome idea. I didn't know that was possible. And she started doing worksheets. That was about 2 weeks ago. She called in 3 days ago and said, my daughter raged at me again this morning, and bingo, no response, no upset. As your interview in the previous show, Carol, what did she do? She simply stayed connected, stayed in the space of love, because there was nothing left in her, at least at that moment, to be resonated by her daughter's rage. Now, maybe there'll be another layer tomorrow that will come up, but it is possible to stay in that connected space 24/7, 365 for all of eternity if every time something less than love comes up, you're willing to forgive and remove it. And my offering is that the purpose of the world is to kick us right square in the limitation. Because whatever it is that we're holding on to that we don't want to deal with, literally, and you asked the question in the previous show, Carol, about what's it got to do with physical. Literally, if I hold some form of hostility or fear, that's stored somewhere in what's called my physical body. If it's stored in my liver, then my liver's in a disturbed state. If it's stored in my heart's in a disturbed state. My lung, my brain, my big toe, wherever that energy's stored, there's going to be a dis-ease process going on. Our input is there is no such thing as physical disease, because from a physics point of view, we know that there is no such thing as physical. So energetically, if we put hostility or fear somewhere in what we call our tissue structure, it's going to be a disease process going on. Life doesn't like us to be diseased, so life's going to send us somebody to bring that up. When they bring it up, if we stay in denial and dissociation, we'll create a picture out of whatever it is we don't want to deal with, and we'll swear that they are our problem.
So, Michael, we do have a couple callers. We do have a couple callers.
Okay, let's welcome a caller.
Okay, the first one is, let me see if this, area code 847.
Hello.
847. Yeah, that's probably Richard. Richard is actually our second sample worksheet on the website.
Hello.
How are you this morning, sir? Or this afternoon?
Oh, very good. This is Dave Womack, actually.
Oh, Dave. Oh, excuse me. You've got an area code similar to someone else that usually calls in. Hey, welcome to the show. Delight to hear from you.
Yes. Nice to be on the show. Thanks for having it.
So you have a question or a thought for us?
Oh, just a thought. So you had raised an earlier question about, what have the 5 worksheets a day done? And my experience is that for me, it hasn't been as much about the goal. I've shifted more away from the goal and more into the process. So it's not even as important what I'm doing it's how I'm doing it and the consciousness that I'm holding in my mind.
And what's your experience? How are you experiencing that?
It's been a great shift in my day. Instead of having in my mind having to maintain or control relationships, I've been freer to work with the relationships, and kind of the win-win. That whole that's a great shift. It's given me more confidence. It's given me, not only do I see people as supporting, what I'm doing, but I also am able to support what they are doing, because I no longer see it as an adversarial relationship.
So it sounds like you're living in that connected, empowered space. That's awesome. That's the whole idea of the process.
Yes, it's true. So I find a great way to start my day. Do a few worksheets just to get things percolating.
Fabulous. Well, we certainly join you in doing that, and we look forward. Your DVDs went in the mail a couple of days ago, so you should have them within 2 or 3 days, and we'll look forward to seeing you at Heartland next summer. Awesome.
Excellent. Yeah, look forward to that.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Al, any thoughts or questions on the worksheet itself?
Excuse me?
I say any thoughts or questions on the worksheet itself, Dave?
So the new worksheet does. I usually need more room to write. Is my only complaint. But I love some of the things that you put in here. It kind of reminded me again that this is when I'm responding out of fear or rage, I'm actually responding out of my lower processor, my 9-bit processor. And then when I'm able to sidestep that, I can actually, connect to many more options, many more creative options, and really get, if my chief goal in this life is to build a viable spiritual body, I'm going to do that much better and reach that goal much faster if I stay connected to that, higher processor, the one that's got much more bandwidth.
For sure. I'm in 100% agreement, and when we're in that 9-bit mind, all we've got is the past to live out of, and when we live in being, in that connected space, everything else is a piece of cake. And of course, what I usually suggest is that when using the worksheet, because what I try to do is keep it on one page as much as possible. Especially when we travel, so a lot of paper to carry. If we start getting to multiple, we could easily do a 5-page worksheet, but carrying all that paper would be difficult on the road. But what I usually suggest is just keep your worksheets in a notebook and use the notebook, side by side with the worksheet. Some people are actually writing the whole worksheet out step by step, writing the whole thing in a notebook, and finding that that's really been empowering for them too. So. But yeah, the space is limited. I'm well aware of that, and it seems to be the best way to make it work. And then people can always use additional paper to expand on. Certainly, every worksheet could become just about a whole novel. We've actually got some friends out in Las Vegas who are working with the Spanish community, and they've been encouraging us to begin doing a novella. Which is a TV series, kind of like a soap opera, only it's a short-term soap opera. Some of the soap operas you can go back 20 years later and pick up where you left off because the same drama and trauma is going on. The novella is, a shorter time frame, and it's particularly, I understand, in the Spanish world. And but to create one that involves, rather than the drama and trauma game, that involves healing. And so that's one of the directions we're heading is to get this into a popular media format that people can watch and see that healing and resolving issues is actually possible rather than living in the old drama and trauma game. So, David, we're glad you are on the team and doing the work, and we'll look forward to seeing you next summer.
Very good. And thank you for the DVDs, and I'll be using those in our MindShifters group. So much appreciated.
Awesome. And we sent the whole 15 set of 15, so they're on their way.
Excellent. Much appreciated.
Okay. Let's take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And we'll make the offering to those on the radio show if you're interested in doing an intensive. The standard special that we have is that if you register by April 1st, you get 10 DVDs. If you are part of our listening audience, we'll up that, as we did with Dave, to 15 DVDs free with your registration for one of our summer intensives. So if you're interested in that, let me know. You've got another caller, Carol?
Well, we had another one, but they must have hung up. So, no, everybody's just listening. But if they can, call in at 646-200-4169 and make sure you press number 1.
So our caller that we lost, if you feel inclined to call back in, you'd be next in line. We'd love to chat with you. And David, do you have any other thoughts on the ending out the year with our 5-a-day for 40 days?
Well, I think it's just about getting ready for this 2012. There's so many programs with so many people out there doing certain things, and as we talk about on the show, there are plenty of venues out there to follow and to utilize, and we just recommend that you use this tool to implement with the work that you're doing and see where that takes you in this 2012. See how that will work for you. And it's good to hear Dave Womack doing so well with the worksheets, keeping his agreement. To me, that's always critical that to keep the agreement that's made with it. I was reading this morning about agreements, and actually one of the mind shifter that I had this morning was I'm thinking of it. It's 210 is what it is of how it was that it's easy for me to. Commitments are easy for me, especially when it's connected with a higher purpose, with my intention. What my higher purpose is. So if the purpose is to create a better life and to be in alignment with who it is that you are, then make an agreement and come and play. Nice to hear Carol on there today as well, too. Carol, how have things been going for you?
Thank you. Michael, there is a question in the chat room. They said, I'm new to the worksheet thing, so do they really help with anger, I feel?
Yeah, the way that we deal with anger in this work is recognizing that anger is, in fact, a drug. And whenever we can get somebody to drop their anger, the next space they go to, like in a second, is right into their grief, their loss, their pain, whatever it is that they haven't yet dealt with in their lives. And so as you forgive and let loose of anger, you'll find that you will be in touch with some things that otherwise you might not feel. So that at first, for some people, that's looked at as, well, that's not a benefit. Look at what I'm feeling. Gee, I got all this hurt and pain. Well, if I get angry, I don't feel it. Well, you're right. It's because that's literally an internally produced drug that anesthetizes us. When you let go of the anesthetic, then you get to deal with what's underneath it. And as you deal with what's underneath it, you get to heal what's underneath it, and then there's no more reason for anger, and everything changes. So awesome. And as you're doing the worksheets, please, if you have any questions, we'd be delighted to share the airways with you and answer those questions. Also, if you wish to get support for exactly or whatever it is that you are working through, we're delighted to be able to support you in that process. So please call in.
Our caller did call back in, and awesome. So we have area code 941.
941 sounds like Sarasota.
No, actually, it's Fort Myers.
Fort Myers. Okay, a little further south. Welcome to the show, and who am I speaking with?
My name is Tristan, and I was the one who wrote about the worksheets. I'm new to your show, and a friend of mine directed me to your show, so thank you for taking my call. The reason I hung up before is because the phone was so staticky and I couldn't hear anything. I had to hang up, so I decided to call back when you had said call back. But anyways, I'm not an angry person. I'm just angry at the situation that I'm in and that I can't get out of right now. So that's what's upsetting me, because basically I'm with an abusive person and they're just so annoying. There's no other way of putting it. They watch every move that I make. I mean, I can't even go into the kitchen and get a glass of water without them eyeballing me, and it just is driving me around the bend, and I'm waiting for an inheritance to come in, which should be in a few weeks or so, and it's like I have to keep telling myself every day to just be calm, but this person likes to push my buttons. They're the person who has the rage and the true anger, and they're trying to put it on me, and I have to keep shielding myself from all their negativity.
So let me ask a question. You talk about the annoyance. How long have you known this person that you're in this relationship with?
2 years.
2 years. Okay, so let's go back 3 years ago. So you haven't met this person yet. If you tap into the annoyance that you feel around this person, did you know that quality of annoyance 3 years ago? 4, 10, 15, 20 years ago?
I'm not sure in the same way that he annoys me, but yes, I've been annoyed in my life.
Okay, so here's my input to you then. I would offer that he does not annoy you one iota. You have a reality in your physiology called annoyance, and he brings it up for you. So there are two different issues involved. One, it sounds like someone who's pretty abusive, and that may be an absolute fact. But independent of that fact is there's a quality of energy that you hold in you called annoyance, however you vary it around different situations. And that quality of annoyance compromises your health, it compromises your well-being, it compromises your intelligence, and it clouds the output of your mind. So if you begin to forgive, rather than see one of the things about this mind, we've got in this work what we see, there's some Harvard research that says that in a time frame where 10,000 brain cells fire, the max amount of information that we can be aware of is 9 bits. We get to see a little tiny time frame. So when I say to my mind, they annoy me, what I'm saying is, mind, show me, build me a picture that shows me that they're the cause of my annoyance. So I get to gloss over that I've got anything to do with my annoyance, and I get to blame them. However, the cost of doing that is I can never get rid of my annoyance. One of my favorite tongue-in-cheek lines in my workshop is, if somebody keeps getting your goat, get rid of your goat. So as you start to forgive, putting their name in number 1A, he just follows me when I just go to get a glass of water, so controlling. How do I feel? Annoyed as hell. And what's my thought? Well, he just wants to run my life. He just wants to control me. Has that ever happened in your life before? Has that ever happened in your life before, that you were someone who wanted to control your every move?
Not really. I mean,
you didn't have a person? You didn't have a parent that was controlling?
I think my dad was controlling, but
there you go.
not to this effect.
Well, here's what happens. When we form an energy around a particular issue, the universe comes and gives us this gentle nudge. And if we don't listen, we deny it, we dissociate from it, we blame them, then the universe comes and kicks us a little harder. And if we stay in denial and dissociation, they make me annoyed, then the universe comes and kicks me harder until finally it picks up, cancel the thought, a 2x4, and whacks me in the head with it. And it sounds like the universe is giving you that whack in the head. Here's what I'd invite you to do. To just shift your language into, gee, in all my life, every time I've been annoyed, I'm the one who's been there. Maybe annoyance is an energy resonant within my physiology, and what I could do is forgive that annoyance. That is, I can remove that annoyance from my physiology. Then guess what? One of two things is going to happen when you remove that. One, you'll go to the kitchen to get a glass of water, and he'll be standing right there over you going, what are you doing? Or two, he might just turn his head and continue with what he's doing. Because oftentimes, and another question I'll ask in the workshops is, how many have ever walked into somebody's space totally committed to being loving, nurturing, and caring, and all of a sudden found yourself functioning like a mad banshee? And most everybody laughs and raises their hand. Yeah, I've been there, done that. Why did you do that? Well, here's my offering. If I hold, let's say I'm the one who holds annoyance, I hold a literal frequency in me. Some of the work I got to do about 30 years ago with a fellow named Marcel Vogel, who was a 23-year senior scientist from IBM, is Marcel had a camera in his laboratory with which to take a picture of the high energy waves that leave the mind when we think a thought. If I hold annoyance, I'm literally sending out a measurable wave that is communicating to all the world. And here's its communication. Hey, world, I have this disease called annoyance. I need somebody who can annoy me so I get another opportunity to own it and get rid of it. Is there anybody in town who would do that for me? And we walk into somebody's space committed to being loving and nurturing, but if we've got the matching mad banshee to the person who's calling for annoyance, and the issue is a power person issue of control, then I'm going to be inclined, though normally I'd be very loose and easy to move and get along with, I might just jump right into that controlling place because literally your energy resonates my control. And if I'm not very conscious that, no, I have a committed way of working with people, and that is loving, gentle, and respectful, if I'm not conscious of that, then I'm going to tend to fall into that control. So it's actually a perfect setup. You get to heal your annoyance because I'm controlling, and I get to heal my control issues because you're annoyed. And we call those relationships based in matching bags of garbage. And the world calls them love relationships. But they're actually absolutely perfect because they'll give us every opportunity we need to work through whatever we haven't worked through. So you could be in exactly the same circumstance. My offering is, once you forgive your annoyance, you don't forgive him, you don't forgive yourself, you forgive your annoyance. And the worksheet is how you do it. Once you forgive your annoyance, he could follow through and do all exactly the same behaviors, and you'll stand there in a connected space of love and go, gee, it looks like you really got a control issue here. Can I support you in healing that? Rather than getting into that annoyed state and having the function compromised. Does that make sense?
I don't know how to put it, but it makes sense, but it'll never work with this person because, for one, this person has so many problems. They're not evolved. They're not spiritual. They don't look at their own issues.
Yep. Can I interrupt the conversation?
Sure.
Notice that, and here's one of the games that what we call the non-being mind will play with us. I have an issue called annoyance or fear or anger or sadness or grief or pain, whatever it is, and I want to talk about them. When I shift out of a conversation about what I've got going inside of me, here's what I do. I go into a dissociated state. Actually, if you download the fourth link under download worksheets, that might be a really wonderful worksheet session for you to listen to. There was a fellow who called in. Actually, it was Richard that I thought was calling when he gave that last area code. And you'll hear how Richard starts out talking about an upset that he had about somebody. And then about, I don't know, I haven't sat and counted them, but about a dozen times, I have to pull Richard back to, yeah, Richard, I understand you got a whole story and a whole conversation about them, but what's going on inside of you? This worksheet's about what's going on inside of you. Yeah, Richard, I understand. And he'd stop and he'd go back to himself for 10 seconds, and then it's like, yeah, but you don't know what they're like. And then, well, yeah, Richard, but let's come back to you. And he did an awesome job, because when he gets to the core forgiveness step, you'll hear the kind of breath that he takes, and he goes, oh, that's what's inside of me. When I'm in some sort of pain or turmoil, and I tell a story about somebody else, I'm avoiding my pain and turmoil. The most important thing I can do is own my pain and turmoil and forgive it, work through it. And I'd offer that, there's Yeshua, if you were talking to Yeshua 2,000 years ago, at this point he has said to you, why are you trying to take the speck out of your brother's eye? Well, you have a beam in your own. Your issue in this situation, at this moment, is annoyance. Get rid of that speck, you might see this fellow totally, completely differently. And if you'll stay out of a conversation about him and work with this issue of annoyance that you have and this issue of being controlled that you have, you're going to find that, one, you will change that relationship and he will shift in it. Or two, if you decide to move on from the relationship, you won't have to pull in another controller with that psychic megaphone message. Because I guarantee if you never forgive the annoyance and the issues you have around being controlled, your psychic megaphone message will govern the way you select relationships. And you may search for somebody and you'll interview 100 of their friends and they'll go, oh, Charlie is the least controlling person in the world. And guess what? 2 years later, Charlie is going to be the most controlling person you've ever seen.
Oh, good God.
That's just the way it works.
Where do I find these worksheets? Worksheet number 4 that you're talking about.
WHYagain.com. WHY. Again. The title of my book is Why Is This Happening to Me Again? The website is WHYagain.com. And on the right-hand side, there's a link that says Download Worksheets. It's about 6 links down.
Okay.
The first 4 links. The first one is a new chapter 24 from my book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? It'll explain the whole process. The second link is an actual worksheet. It's the newest 7-step worksheet. Just went on the website last night. The third link is an absolutely awesome radio show where we have a young woman who's actually a medical doctor who called into the show. She had just missed us being out in Oregon, and somebody introduced her to the worksheet. So we went through a worksheet, and it started out with her being really upset about the fact that she was going to lose a lot of money because somebody who was managing her father's estate, her father passed away about a year ago, the person who was managing the estate had let the house go, let it filled with mold, was going to cost a ton of money, and it was out of her pocket. So she was really upset about that. About halfway through the worksheet, she starts to key into, oh, my God, this isn't about that. This is 20 years ago, and this woman, as a medical doctor, had healed a child of cancer using nutritional means. And her oncologist came after her and took her medical license away, forced the medical board to go after her. Of course, she put him out of business. That's not a nice thing to do, according to some people. So in that one, she describes, this isn't just annoyance. She describes how she visualized herself picking up a gun and killing this guy. That's how deep an issue this was for her. And then, a few minutes later into the next step of the worksheet, all of a sudden she goes, oh, my God, this is my dad's stuff. This has got to do with what went on with my dad. And I'll tell you, it's the most awesome worksheet I've ever walked anybody through. That's the third link. It's just an MP3. It's a radio show we did a couple months ago. You just click on it. It'll download to your computer, or you right-click on it and say Save To and put it somewhere where you'll know where it is. It's an MP3. You can load it on your phone or your iPod or listen to it on the computer. And when she gets down to the end of the worksheet, she's in compassion for the person who's cost her so much money around the house. She's in compassion for the oncologist who had her medical license taken away, and she's in compassion for Dad. I mean, and it's so dramatic, the shift in her energy around it as she lets go of her anger and upset at this person who's allowed her father's house to deteriorate and going to cost her so much money. So that third link is that worksheet. Maybe listen to that one first, and then listen to the fourth one, and you'll see how I get to play with Richard and how we keep pulling Richard back on track to, and he goes, finally, oh, this is mine. I got it.
I clicked the page where it said for downloads, worksheets to print and use. I'm not sure which one you want me to start on.
Well, start the first 4 links. The first one is the book. The second link is the actual 7-step worksheet. The third link is the first radio show I'm inviting you to listen to. The fourth link is the second radio show that I invite you to listen to. And as you do that, and we're down to about 30 seconds or so I'm going to have to close the show up, but maybe see if you can get a listen into those, do a worksheet or two, and then tomorrow call in, and we'll see if we can support you with any questions that come up there.
Okay.
It'll be Monday, Michael.
Thank you for your call. We're delighted to be here to support you. I hope we'll get to hear from you tomorrow. Everybody, please bring a stranger to the show tomorrow and get ready for the best year yet of your eternal life. Have a blessed one. Bye-bye. Carol, thank you again.
Thank you. And, Michael, we did have a couple more questions, but we didn't get a chance to ask. Maybe you can tomorrow. One is about basically making sure you really need to make sure you're safe. And another one is wanting to know how you remove the male ego as you're doing this.
Okay. Well, let's go into those tomorrow. I think we're down to about 15 seconds.
Monday, Michael.
Absolutely.
Monday,
yes. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you for listening to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeanie, who present the internal Aramaic process of forgiveness. Michael and Jeanie are here every Monday